Here's what happened this week at City Council.
So 11.1 was the first reading or the introduction of the ordinance related to the El Paso Electric franchise. So this is a requirement of all the ordinances. So first is the introduction. On February 4th will actually be the approval of the ordinance, which is related to, as I mentioned, the El Paso Electric franchise agreement. This is important not only for the city, but for the community as well. So this is a part of the overall acquisition currently going on with El Paso Electric Company. So included in the franchise agreement, we have items related to the compensation that's provided for use of the city rights-of-way, but also some other items related to maintaining the headquarters here, maintaining the number of jobs. There's also items in there that will address some customer service issues. So it's really important to the city and the community.
We announced a launch of the intersection of possibilities.com. This is very important for our region so that folks that live here understand what all that is happening and how rich we are in so many different areas, as well as different companies and different investment opportunities and just people that are looking to move into El Paso, Juarez, or Las Cruces.
Council approved a construction contract for the realignment and extension of Taxiway Uniform and Victor at the El Paso International Airport. This is important because it's going to tie into a fixed base operator facility that's being constructed on airport property right now. The benefit to the citizens of El Paso is now we're going to have two first-class airport fixed-based operations in El Paso. It's a big deal for corporate jets flying across country and building up our business jet market at the airport.
The council approved a construction contract for lighting and median landscaping improvements on Yarborough from I-10 to Montana. The improvements along Yarborough is going to address a couple of things, mainly the traffic safety component. We're going to be adding streetlights on this corridor to major arterials. So traffic safety is the biggest reason why we're doing the project. We're also taking the opportunity to complete some of the median landscaping, some of the gaps that we have along this corridor, to really enhance the quality of life for our community. The City Council approved the construction contract for the reconstruction of McCune Street. This is part of the 2012 Street CIP program. But what it means is, you know, in this case, the city, this corridor, this street is a really old street that was not built to any standard. So there's no sidewalks out there, there's no drainage. We're adding new pavement to the roadway, sidewalk improvements to provide accessibility to the neighborhood and those who traverse in this area, as well as improve the drainage conditions for this roadway.
This presentation was a review of the accomplishments of the past 5 years since we adopted the strategic plan. And some of the things that we accomplished include 3 new airlines, 5 major businesses expanded at the airport, as well as 13 customer service improvements and amenities were added within the airport terminal. We've completed 19 construction projects with a total investment of $156 million. Of that, $95.5 million were funded by grants or federal funding. These accomplishments contribute to the community's strong economic development as well as a high quality of life in place.
For the last 5 years at Bridges, we've done a lot of work. The department has been restructured. It's added a few more people to the department with different expertise. And so now we have several projects and initiatives in place that we didn't have back 5 years ago. It means in the future, you know, lower wait times, better crossing experience, an easier crossing experience, better amenities, more services, not only for Bridges, but also for parking meters. We're also trying to improve the parking experience downtown with a new app that now we received a national award for this application, one of a kind in the US. We're the first ones in the US to have this new application that tells the user real-time data.
Project Arriba, what it is that they're a training organization that provides a very important role within economic and workforce development. They have a number of students that they provide all of the necessary abilities so that these students can go through and secure a degree. If our community is experiencing any challenges, whether it be income, childcare, you name it. There's an organization like Project Arriba that is able to work with you from beginning to end to ensure that you have a degree and to ensure that you have a job. The Hub of Human Innovation, it is a incubation for entrepreneurship, business startups, any assistance that you may need to be able to get your business up and off the ground. They just recently changed their name to Pioneers 21. It is so incredibly important to have organizations like Pioneers 21 that offer assistance when you're needing to work on a business plan, when you're needing to identify opportunities to engage investment or lenders to be able to commercialize your product or idea.
We have a new name for a park in the system. It's named after Frank Castillo, who was a graduate of Eastwood High and was drafted into Major League Baseball and actually pitched in the World Series. It reinforces the fact that in our neighborhood parks, when we get applications or requests to name parks after people, that they can see it goes through due process, and most of the time council approves it. The other thing it does is it brings a little recognition to a local hero.
Council approved the 2020 Public Art Plan, which will allow us to access $6.5 million for 16 new projects that will integrate public art into capital facilities. What this means for the community is the opportunity for artists to be engaged in the design process to allow each new facility that comes online to be able to have art that's integrated, that creates a sense of place, and make sure that each of our facilities doesn't look cookie cutter.
So 21.1, there was no action taken. This was just a budget update as part of our integrated budget process. So this budget update went through and talked about the pay-as-you-go or annual funding that's been incorporated into the budget over the last 2 to 3 years. It's really focusing on not only addressing priorities, but doing it in a fiscally responsible manner and trying to limit the amount of debt that we need in order to go out and address some of these key operational areas such as our streets, highlighting the $10 million that we have towards street projects now, the economic development money's been incorporated into the budget for public safety capital. So really addressing those key priorities, as I mentioned, in a fiscally responsible manner of having that built into the annual budget. So on item 21.2, this was the update on the feasibility study that the council asked for us to go out and get estimates on. So we just provided an update on what the RFP or request for proposal process looks like, gave them an estimate on what the time frame is going to look like. Talked about our first steps, really just creating a very solid and accurate scope of work to make sure we're incorporating all the important elements that will need to be included.
We provided an update to City Council for the Children's Museum. We enter into a public-private partnership with the Paso Children's Museum, which is a nonprofit agency that's building the facility. Under the agreement, the city is adding an additional $20 million to match private funds. They committed to raise an additional $20 million, so now we have a project that it's almost $60 million that will be a world-class facility for our community. Under the update, the design for the building is progressing. They're very close to completing the design development of the project of the building, and we'll be going into construction later this year.
So I was presenting today 2 things. One was to go to every other week recycling. Currently we collect recycling and trash on the same day every week. And we've been collecting data that shows that most people do not set their bins out every week, their blue bin. And that alone will save over $2 million. And so we would use the money towards an additional CCS drop-off site, better equipment, and use it in order not to raise the rates for our residents. The other thing I presented was the idea that we are calling opt-in. And so opt-in is for new residents who move into a new subdivision, a new house. If you're already here, you're going to be grandfathered, but it would require you to request the recycling bin, that you really want to do it and you're willing to take a class. And once you take the class, then we would deliver the bin